Hi, and welcome to this screen class on interactivity and graphics in Raptor. This is for the Computers and Technology 11 class. In this, we're going to try and cover the functions required for displaying graphics, understanding draw calls and draw order, and mouse interactivity. Among the functions for displaying graphics are the Open Graph Window function, loading a bitmap image functionality, and drawing an image. These are three different functions. Raptor has a lot of, well, not a lot of, but a few different functions for mouse button and mouse pointer positional functionality. We're going to use only one in this presentation. We need to also develop an understanding of the X and Y coordinate system inside of Raptor and how to do click position detection. Alright, so the first function we're going to look at is the Open Graph Window function. It takes two arguments, or it has two parameters, an integer called width and an integer called height. This is the width and height of the window that the images are going to be displayed in, not the height and width of the images themselves. You can think of this as your canvas, or if you're working in Photoshop, the size of the image or the file itself, or the background where you're moving your images around, can be considered as the graph window. This presentation is going to be a little bit weird because after this I'm just going to go to the not minimized, but the normalized size for PowerPoint, like this, because I'm going to be going back and forth between Raptor and Photoshop and the presentation. Alright, so let's start with this Open Graph Window and see what that does. Alright, so inside of my main, I'm just going to make a call, and we're going to call that function. So Open Graph Window, and you can see it appears immediately. Just press enter one time. And for width, you just give it an integer. This can be a hard-coded number, or it can be a variable. And we'll say 400 by 400, and that's it. And we'll run. And you can see what it has done is it just created this little window called the Raptor graph. Okay. Now I can change the size of this and say, for example, I want it to be 800 in width and 400 in height. And the window is displayed accordingly. Okay, so that's the Open Graph Window function. The next function we need to look at is the Load Bitmap function. It has one parameter, a string called file name. The string file name is directions to the image you are trying to display and the name of the image you're trying to display. This can be in a folder or in the same location as the Raptor file. This is done as an assignment, so what you're actually doing is going to make a variable and set it equal to this function call. So you're going to say this variable is equal to, oh hey, go ahead and load this image, and then store that image into that variable. Alright, so let's see how that works. Go to my desktop. Let's see, where is it? Alright, so here you see I have 4 images. And I also have a folder called images, and inside of this is one single background image. And the file that I just created is this SDSDS file. And you can name it whatever you want. So the point I'm trying to make here is that this file is saved in the same position as the images or the image that we're trying to load. Alright, so let's go ahead and load this. And as I said before, it has to be done inside an assignment. We're going to set this equal to bitmap is equal to load bitmap. And the file name is the exact name of the file as a string. So if we look at this image, look at properties, it's a JPEG image. So we'll call it string, make sure it's a string, 3.jpg, and close it off. Okay. Now when we play this, we have this bitmap variable that will hold this image. Now obviously it's not getting displayed, and well, why not? Because we haven't told it to actually be drawn. The only thing we've done is loaded it into a variable. That's where this function comes in, draw bitmap. Okay, it has 5 parameters: a variable called bitmap, int x, int y, int width, and int height. Alright, this has to be done as a call. The var bitmap, so this, the first position for the parameters, is the name of the variable in the previous step. So in this, we load bitmap, we make a variable with load bitmap. Here we take that variable and draw it inside of the graph window. The x and y int parameters are the location of the top left corner of the image. And that's important. Well, all of it's important, but I'll explain it in a second. Okay. The width and height parameters, so these 2 parameters, are the dimensions that the image should be drawn. This does not have to be what the image actually is. It can be stretched and skewed however you want. Okay? So let's go ahead and run this function. We'll make a call to draw bitmap. First we have bitmap, so that's the name or the variable that we created. And I already have it called bitmap, which is useful. Bitmap. The x and y, again, are the upper left point. So let's look in Photoshop here. Let's say that I want to draw, excuse me, I want to draw this cat image. Alright, so whenever I say I want to draw it, I need to say where inside of the graph window I want to draw it. And the way Raptor does this is it uses the top left corner of the image. Alright, so where do you want me to put this top left corner? Okay. That's not the right one, this one. So let's assume that I say 0, 150. I want to draw it at 0, 150. So that what that will do is, first of all, let me grab it here. I'll grab it from that corner. So we're at 0, 0 now. It'll go 0 over and to the right, so it'll stay right where it is, and go up 150. So let's just pretend that this is 150 pixels Alright, so it would draw it here. Okay. If you were to change that, I think I already rasterized this type. Yeah, I did. Oh, okay. If I were to change this to like 150, 150, we do the same thing. It starts in the bottom left-hand corner, goes over 150, and then up 150. So we'll draw it maybe here. Okay. So when you make the size for your graph window, keep track of what that is, because you can use the size to kind of figure out where you want your image to be drawn and how large you want the image to be drawn. Okay. Alright, that's good. Minimize that. So I have a window that is 800 by 400. Okay, so let's say I want to draw the background image to take up the entire image. Well, what I would do is, if I'm going with the bottom left image, or bottom left corner, let's go ahead and choose that. So I have this background image, and let's assume that this canvas is 400 by 800, or sorry, yeah, 800 by 400. If we wanted to cover the entire canvas, you say, well, maybe we put it at 800, 400, just like the background. That's not true. Remember, we're grabbing the bottom left, or sorry, the top left, not the bottom left. So what we actually have to say is, okay, go over 0 in the X. So we don't want it to go over any in the X, or else we'll end up with this kind of thing. We go over 0 in the X, and we go up in the Y 400. And we also need to draw the image at the same size as the background image, or sorry, as the canvas. Alright, so let's do that. First of all, I'll draw it at, let's see, 0 and 400. My width will be 800. My height will be 400. Okay, so I'm going to draw this variable at 0, 400. So go over 0 on the X and up 400 on the Y. The width of the image should be 800. The height should be 400. Alright, so I drew the fish because here I'm actually drawing the fish. If I want to change that, I can simply go in and change the name of the file I'm going to load. And there we go. Now, I'm going to show a couple of the wrong things to do here. Let's say I'm going to draw it, but I'm going to reduce the size by half. I'll go ahead and draw it again. And you'll see that it still goes over 0 and up 400. But since the image is cut in half, it's going to draw it in the upper left-hand corner. Let's say I'm going to move it over. So if we have it, if the image is going to be, how much is the width? 400. And we want this to appear right in the middle of the screen. Alright, so that means if we're going over we'll go over 100. We'll go up 200. And obviously that's wrong. So where do we need to draw this? Alright, so let's think about it. We have 800 in width. The image is 200. Okay, so if we want the image to appear here, we need 300 on this side and 300 on that side. 300, 400, 500. 500 plus 300 is 800. Okay, so the image is, how much is the width? It's 400, right? Okay, so how much is the height? 200. All right. If the height of this entire screen, or this entire graph window, is 400, the image is 200, how far do we need to go up? 100. 100 plus the 200 for the width or the height of the image, and then another 100 for the well, to make it equal. All right. So what we need to change here is the positioning right here. So where do we go in the X? Well, if it's 800, we need to go over 300. And we need to go up can't be 200, it actually needs to be up 300. We need to go up 300 in order to actually make, so yeah, we want it to appear, we want 100 at the bottom, but we take that 100 and add it to the height of the image. That will be 300. Oh, and I still drew it the wrong size. No, I didn't. Oh, I was looking at the wrong thing. Okay. Alright, let's see where I'm fucking this up. Sorry about that. I had a computer crash for some reason. Trying to figure out exactly where I was. I think, okay, I was trying to move this image to the center. That's right. I apologize if the screen changed a little bit. Probably seemed pretty weird. Alright, so in order to get this to move to the center, we just got to do a little bit of math. Alright. So the image is going to be 400 in width and 200. Let's just do the width first. 400 in width with the width of the window being 800. So we're going to have 400 in the middle, then 200 on either side of the image. All right. So we only need to worry about the left side. Okay. So if we move over 200 units and draw the image there, so 200 plus 400, that will be 600. plus another 200 will be 800. Alright, so the image needs to be drawn at 200 in X. Alright, so for Y, remember we're talking about the upper left-hand corner, so you should, it's kind of hard to think of it that way, but it is what it is. The origin is, most people will like to think of it as the upper left when you're talking about things like this Raptor graph, but it's just a little bit weird sometimes. Alright, anyway, so if we're thinking about the Y, and we're going to draw it, and let's say we have our Raptor graph at 400, okay? So if we want this to appear in the middle, and it's actually 200, and the image is 200, and you have 400 in width, then we want 100 to appear at the top and at the bottom. Unless I'm crazy, I think that should probably be 300. I guess I must be crazy. Did I draw it the right size? Oh, that's what I did. I changed the size, but not the position. Alright, so let's change that to 300. And there we go. Now why 300? Okay, so think. We have a graph window that's going to be 400 pixels in height, and an image that's 200. Okay. Now you got to remember that we're talking about the upper left-hand corner of the image, so right here. And the origin, as far as Raptor is concerned, it's weird because the origin for the graph window is the bottom left-hand corner. The origin for the images is the upper left-hand corner, as far as Y is concerned. So it's strange the way they did it, but you know, whatever. Alright, so what we want to do is, we go up. We want 100 in space, so we go up 100. Then we add the height of the image, 200. So that will make it 300. Okay? So if the window is 400 in height, the image is 200 in height. To make it appear in the middle, alright, it's the width plus half of the height plus half of the height. Okay? Of the image, not the screen. Alright? Alright, so that does it for this video. In this video we covered the first part of what I actually was planning to, but this video is running a little long, so we'll go ahead and wrap this one up here, and the next video we'll talk about using draw calls to it's not so much animation, but interactivity. That will take how to display multiple images, how to use arrays to actually set an order for the way things should be laid down as far as layering goes. And then afterwards we'll take a look at mouse interactivity, how to detect some clicks, how to know exactly where the mouse has clicked, and how to do some logic using that information. Alright, the name for that video that follows this one will be mouse interactivity. Alright, see you there.